Hey, hi everybody. Michael DDA here. Thank you so much for joining me. I so appreciate it. You know, if you're listening to me on YouTube or uh, Rumble or Telegram, would you hit the like button, please? It would really, I don't know that it benefits me that much. I mean, it's not like I'm not a high group of people that are listening. The people who are listening, you know, they're people who want to learn. You know what? People aren't ready. People are not ready to hear what I have to tell them. They're still stuck on their New Testament ideas, false ideas, things that have been taught to us that, what does it say? Our fathers have taught us lies, worthless and unprofitable things. Boy, they really have. And not even our fathers, just our fathers, not even just things related to Yehovah. I don't want to say religion because I'm not big on religion. I'm big on government. Government, the government of Elohim is the one that I want to be a part of. But it goes way beyond government, religion. There's so much more. Everything. You wait. Everything that we have learned, everything that we have been taught is lies. Lies, lies, and more lies. Here I am just trying to help you understand Yehovah's words. It's not about Jesus. Folks, please, you've got to get beyond that. Who gave us the New Testament? Have you thought about it? It was added to the Hebrew Scriptures in the 4th century by Constantine. It's the same time that they created this new Elohim to draw in all the religions of the world. Catholic, universal. They were creating a universal Elohim. And they wanted to create an Elohim that would draw from all parts of the world. Krishna, Christos, Christ. This is where Jesus Christ is coming from. They've merged religions together to create this character that was born supposedly on the winter solstice, just like Tammuz. You know, I started waking up when I started doing research into the origins of Christmas and the origins of Easter. Easter was first for me. And I was appalled to find out the things that I was finding out. Well, I've been on a long journey. My journey's been since even before 9/11, really. But 9/11 woke me up to the fake, false, perverted government that I thought was a good government. I flew my flag. I was what do they call it? A precinct committee man. I got voted in to be a precinct committee man. Yeah, represent my district, my neighborhood is what I was doing for them. But I won. And I was involved until 9/11. It was then that I realized, within days really, that it was a false flag. That we had done it to ourselves. I knew that Bush was involved. I sensed that the CIA and the FBI were involved. Didn't know about Mossad and Israel being involved in it. But it was all coming down. And that was the day that I took down my flag. Everybody else was putting up their flag at that point because they'd been played. And we have been played. We have learned ways that have turned us from our Father in heaven and his government. Today, we're going to talk about Israel's seed and how they're going to camp in the wilderness. It's actually pretty straightforward as we look at it. But there's some things that I would like to cover that Yasher threw in my face. And I'm still learning what I found in Yasher. You know, it looked to me, here we are last week, numbering Israel. Well, when did we number Israel? You know, look at this. This is what we did last week. And I questioned this. It said second month. Here it is. Now Yehovah spoke to Moses. Did I like this? Yeah. Yehovah spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, in the Tabernacle of Meeting, on the first day of the second month of the second year. First day of the second month. What happened to the stuff that we did in the first month? We never talked about it. Keep in mind, we set up the tabernacle on the first day of the first month of the second year. This is the first day of the second month of the second year. And this is Numbers. I had lots of questions. How come they didn't say anything about Passover? We read, Yasher, you know, I thank Yehovah that I went and taught at a Sabbath group in person. One of the few times that I've ever taught in person at a Sabbath meeting. And they shared with me Yasher. They were very interested in what I had to say. And they turned me on to Yasher. And man, it has changed my life, my thinking, and how I see the scriptures. Because it's added that much more to what Torah had to say. In a sense, without Yasher, I was seeing through a glass darkly, reading Torah. I couldn't see it all. I just couldn't see it all. Look at the note that I wrote last week. Remember last week we talked about numbering Israel. We had 600 and here it is. I better just go look at it. 603,550. When we left Egypt, we had 600,000 warriors. Remember, we're numbering here. Israel was 20 years old and above, all who were able to go to war. All men. We're not talking about the ladies. It says the children of Israel. You got to get past it. We've learned lies. Who's they? You know, it's the publishers. It's the ones who put the Lord instead of Yehovah. And confuse you into thinking by calling Jesus the Lord that we're talking about the Lord as the same person. No, you've learned lies. We, in 1 year, from Passover to Passover, have increased by 3,550. Oh, that goes way back. You know, we're talking about here. Second month. Let me just read my note. This is enlightening. I wrote this last week. This is the first day of the second month of the second year. On the first day of the first month of, I put the first year, the Tabernacle, first year. This is the first day of the second month of the second year. Second year. We just raised it. Remember, we went out of Passover. Now we're having in the 12th month. Well, here, let's talk about our whole journey. We left at Passover. We came to the wilderness of Sinai at Shavuot. Yehovah gave the Ezra men, not the ladies, not the ger, not the children. The Ezra men were the ones who went up to the mountain, and Yehovah spoke to us. He gave us the 10 Commandments on Shavuot. Moses stayed up there and came kind of back and forth like 5 times during that time. But in the 12th month, on the 23rd day of the month, this was in Deuteronomy, chapter 40, the last verse here. Let's go there. Just to make it clear, Deuteronomy. I'll come back to my thing that I'm reading here in just a second. Here we are. No, not Deuteronomy. Exodus, last chapter, 40. Here. It was, where are we here? Right here. This is Aaron consecrating, no, this is Moses consecrating Aaron and his sons. He says, and thou shalt bring Aaron and his sons to the tent of meeting. Remember, there was no tabernacle yet. It hadn't been raised yet. It makes it sound like it exists, but it's the tent of Ohel, of the Ohel Moed, the tent of meetings. It seems like the Mishkan is going to become the new tent of meetings, but it goes back and forth. So here they are. They're going to be outside this thing, and they're going to stay here for 7 days. Look what it says here in Yasher. Well, first, let's read Deuteronomy. It says, thus you shall do to Aaron and his sons according to all that I have commanded you. 7 days you shall consecrate them. So there's the 7-day consecration. Now, they don't even mention it here. But in Yasher, we saw that it was on the 23rd day, and here, let me just read it. And in the 12th month, on the 23rd day of the month, Moses took Aaron and his sons, and he dressed them in their garments, and anointed them, and did unto them as Yehovah commanded him. And Moses brought up all the offerings which Yehovah had on that day commanded him. Moses afterwards took Aaron and his sons and said to them, for 7 days you shall remain at the door of the tabernacle, for thus I am commanded. And Aaron and his sons did all that Yehovah had commanded them through Moses, and they remained for 7 days at the tent of meeting, the door of the tabernacle. That makes it sound like the Mishkan. Remember, the Mishkan isn't up yet. The Mishkan isn't going to be up for another 8 days. Well, so 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, and the next one is going to be the 8th day. I guess 30. Anyway, we're going to be at the 8th day. Here we are. And we're going to read this again today. It says, and on the 88th day, being the first day of the first month in the second year from the Israelites' departure, here we are, first day, first month, second year. Second year. Moses erected the sanctuary. Remember, it says, and you shall, thou shalt, thou shalt. Well, Moses didn't do all he had it done, but he was the one that was responsible for it. And Moses put up all the furniture of the tabernacle, all the furniture of the sanctuary, and he did all that Yehovah commanded him. Now here, this was 12. Here we have down on 40 verse 17, it says, and it came to pass on the first day of the it came to pass on the first month of the second year, on the first day of the month, that the tabernacle was raised. So here we are, second year, first month, first day. Tabernacle's raised. Leviticus doesn't have much narrative telling us the storyline. It gives us a lot of statutes and ordinances and judgments, but it doesn't really give us a lot of storyline. Now Numbers is beginning to give us more storyline. I think part of the reason why I like Numbers so much, although I like Leviticus too. I just didn't understand the sequence of events. Let me go back now to where we were in Numbers 1. This is my message here that I wrote. It says, this is the first day of the second month of the second year. First day, second month of the second year. On the first day of the first month of the second year, the tabernacle was raised. That's what we just read. Yasher says that we dedicated the altar for 12 days and then had Passover on the 14th. Yet here we are starting Numbers, talking about the second month, second year, counting our numbers. 20 and above, all were able to go to war. All the males, 20 and above, all able to go to war. Wayne, I'm so delighted to see you here, my dear friend. Well, here I put, Yasher says that we dedicated the altar for 12 days and then had Passover on the 14th day. I wrote, where is it? Where does it say that we kept Passover after the tabernacle was raised in the first year? Well, I found it. I'm going to show it to you today. We are numbering Israel and dedicating the bronze altar for, I said, are we numbering Israel and dedicating the altar a whole year later? No, we're not. It's the first thing that we're going to do, and we don't see it because they started this chapter with the second month, second year. Throws us off. We think sequentially, and we can't think sequentially when we're going through Torah. I put, are we numbering Israel and dedicating the bronze altar in a whole year later? No, this is all happening right after it's been raised. How long did Israel's seed with their families actually dwell in the plains of Sinai? Is Torah sequential? See, this is the thing. We tend to think it's a book. It's sequential. We're going to see that that's not the case. Yasher, thank Yehovah for Yasher and helping me put this together. I read this last week. I want to read it again for you today because I want you to be able to see the things that I'm seeing. I'm so glad you're here. Let's go to Yasher. Here it is. And it's covering some of the same things that we were just talking about in Exodus. We're going to see Leviticus. It's got some things that covered in here. And then wait till you just see it, the sequence of events. It says in the 12th month, on the 23rd day of the month, Moses took Aaron and his sons, and he dressed them in their garments, and anointed them, and did unto them as Yehovah commanded him. And Moses brought up all the offerings which Yehovah had that day commanded him. And Moses afterwards took Aaron and his sons and said to them, for 7 days you shall remain at the door of the tabernacle, for thus I am commanded. That's where they stayed. Now, look at here's Leviticus 8. We were just reading it in Exodus 40. Leviticus 8 says, and you shall not go out of the door of the tabernacle meeting for 7 days until the day of your consecrations are ended. For 7 days he shall consecrate you. And Aaron and his sons did all that Yehovah commanded them through Moses. And they remained for 7 days at the door of the tabernacle. Here is, they say the door of the tabernacle. Remember, we're not talking about the Mishkan. We're talking about the Ohel Moed, the tent of meetings. It was a big tent that Yehovah spoke with Moses at. Was it big enough that maybe the Israelite leadership met in this tent? It's possible, I suppose. Let me just read what my note says. I don't remember looking at this when I was studying this. Now it says the court of the tabernacle was not even set up yet until the first month, first day, which is when they began to minister before Yehovah. Then Yehovah spoke to Moses, saying, on the first day of the first month, okay, we just read this. This is chapter 40, first day, first month. We shall set up the tabernacle, meaning you shall set up the court all around and hang the screen. That's just part of 40. So we're setting up the tabernacle. That's first day, first month, second year. Now it says, on the 8th day, remember we started when? The 23rd day. Now it says, on the 8th day, being the first day of the first month in the second year from the Israelites' departure from Egypt, Moses erected the sanctuary. And Moses put up all the furniture of the tabernacle and all the furniture of the sanctuary. And he did all that Yehovah had commanded him. Again, Moses didn't do it. Moses supervised it being done. 8th day is the first day. Here's Leviticus 9, 1 and 2. And it came to pass on the 8th day that Moses called Aaron and his sons and the elders of Israel. You know, I can probably make it so that you can see this better. There it goes. It came about on the 8th day that Moses called Aaron and his sons and the elders of Israel. And he said to Aaron, take for yourselves a young bull as a kata'ah and a ram as an olah without blemish, and bring them before Yehovah. I'm changing the religious words to what they actually say. First day, first month. Here's the other one. And it came to pass, this is what I just read you in Exodus 40. It came to pass on the first day, first month of the second year, on the first day of the month, that the tabernacle was raised. So, let's continue. And Moses called to Aaron and his sons, and they brought the olah and the kata'ah for themselves, and Israel's seed, as Yehovah had commanded Moses. They had to bring things for Israel's seed as well. On that day, what day are we talking about? First day, first month, second year. On that day, the day we set up the tabernacle, Nadab and Abihu, who had just been consecrated for 8 days, took strange fire and brought it before Yehovah, and he killed him. That is in Leviticus 10. Then Nadab, here I'll open it up. Then Nadab and Abihu, the sons of Aaron, each took his censer and put fire in it, but put incense on it, and offered profane fire before Yehovah, which he had not commanded them. So fire went out from Yehovah and devoured them, and they died before Yehovah. Just thinking about El. I met somebody at the flea market and told them about my class, and I wonder if El, not the same name, is that person. If it is, I'm so pleased. They brought strange fire before Yehovah, whom he had not commanded them. Again, what's the penalty for doing Hanukkah, Easter, Christmas? Did Yehovah ask for any of that? See, we've got to think. We're adding to Yehovah's words with our doctrines and traditions of men. Oh my God. Oh my Elohim. O-M-E. Do you know it was Queen Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth. Probably. Well, there's some things about Queen Elizabeth that you don't know. I can't even tell you. You won't receive it, probably. She's deep state. She's the one who brought and started the Christmas tree that we all have adopted. Well, many have adopted into their religious observance on the winter solstice, Saturnalia. And fire went forth from before Yehovah and consumed them, and they died before Yehovah that day. Then on the day when Moses had completed to erect the sanctuary, the princes of Israel's seed. Remember, we've got to understand, and this is why I say Israel's seed, get children out of your heads. We're talking about Ezra men. Israel's seed are Ezra men. Men who have circumcised themselves, kept the Passover, and become his firstborn son, Israel. Just like he told Pharaoh. Began to bring their offerings before Yehovah for a dedication of the altar. This is the same day, you guys. I put everything that is happening from here on down is happening on the first month of the second year we came out of Egypt according to Torah. But I think that Torah is mistaken once again. Torah has mistakes. Folks, we're going to see Torah has mistakes in it often. Began to bring their offerings before Yehovah as a dedication of the altar. 12 tribes bringing an offering each day for 12 days. Day 1 through day 12. That is going to be enumerated and talked about in number 7. But they're skipping it. We're going straight to the numbering of Israel's seed in Numbers 1. It's not sequential. And they brought their offerings, each prince for 1 day, a prince each day for 12 days. Here's what they brought. And all the offerings which they brought here, I put it all in here. When we go through this chapter, it's going to be a lot like today. It's going to be repetitive. But this is all the things that they brought. Each tribe brought these things on their day. Then it says, Thus did the 12 princes of Israel day by day, each man in his day. And it was after this, on the 13th day of the month, that Moses commanded Israel's seed to observe the Passover. Oh, L left. So sad. 13th day of the month. We're keeping the Passover. Now, I asked last week, why is the Passover not even being mentioned? And I realized it is being mentioned. I thought Numbers 9 was second Passover. But we're actually talking about first Passover. And then Yehovah mentions what happens on second Passover in that same chapter. But it is mentioned. And it's mentioned as happening on the first month. First month, 13th day of the second year. Passover is, in a sense, the start of our year, isn't it? It's the day that we came out of Egypt. Then it says in 16, and Israel's seed kept the Passover in its season. It says in the 14th day of the month, as Yehovah had commanded Moses, so did Israel's seed. Remember, we're going to number Israel's seed after they kept the Passover. Not before they kept the second Passover. We already know how many of Israel's seed we have prior to the second Passover. Don't we? 600,000. Well, now we're going to keep the Passover again, and we're going to increase our numbers. So we have to number ourselves afterwards, not before. I wonder who decided where to put the chapters that are in Numbers, because they really feel like they're out of order. Why do we have a second month, second year, starting Numbers, and then by Numbers 9, we're going to second year, first month again? Doesn't make any sense, does it? Now it says, in the second month, on the first day thereof, Yehovah spoke unto Moses, saying, number the heads of all the males of Israel's seed from 20 years old and upward. Torah says, all who are able to go to war. Now, when we talk about the males of Israel's seed, the casual listener is going to say, oh, Israel's seed, the children of Israel, we're talking about the males of the children of Israel. No, we're not. We're talking about a specific group of males of Israel's seed who are all males. The group we're talking about are the ones who are 20 years old and above, able to go to war. That's what we're talking about. So it really gets confusing. Here I've got this. This is Numbers 1 through 4. We talked about it last week. Now Yehovah spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the Tabernacle of Meeting on the first day of the second month in the second year after they came out of the land of Egypt. So it's right. They are doing it in the second year, but they're doing the second year things, or second year, second month things, before we've done the second year, first month things. So it gets confusing. We have more people because more people kept the Passover this year. Now it says, take a census of the congregation of the assembly of Israel's seed by their families, by their fathers, according to the number of names, each male individually from 20 years old and above, all who are able to go to war in Israel. You and Aaron shall number them by their armies, and with you there shall be a man from every tribe, every one a head of his father's house. These are all men. We understand that Zionism is coming from the Khazarians. Even Paul said, not all Israel is Israel. Okay? Israel doesn't mean they're Jews. Judaism is 1/12 of Israel. We've got to sort all these things out in our minds. But I remember reading Making Aliyah, a quote that I found on the internet. And it had to be the mothers. The mothers had to, it made no sense at all. Instead of your father's seed, it was kind of like your mother's seed. It was your mother in Israel. They wanted to track the descendants of your mother. So stupid. But it's what Judaism does. It's what Esau did. He wanted to turn away from the regulations and the statutes and the ordinances which Yehovah gave to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. And he wanted to do his own thing. We were supposed to make a king chosen from among our brothers. Esau chose a king that wasn't among his brothers. He always did the opposite. And I got a hunch that the Khazarians are part of the line of Esau. I'd bet on it. At any rate, that's neither here nor there. I'm kind of a little bit of a hiatus. So here we are. Number the heads of all the males of Israel's seed from 20 years old and upward, all who are able to go to war, thou and thy brother Aaron and the 12 princes of Israel. And Moses did so. And Aaron came with the 12 princes of Israel, and they numbered Israel's seed in the wilderness of Sinai. And the number of Israel's seed by the houses of their fathers from 20 years old and upward were 603,550, the same number that we get in Yasher. We're getting ready to camp today. This is what our whole storyline about is today, camping in the wilderness. Here it is. It says, and Yehovah spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, every one of Israel's seed shall camp by his own standard, beside the emblem of his father's house, not his mother's house. Judaism, Khazarianism, Zionism. They're not our friends. Beside the emblem of his father's house, they shall camp some distance from the tabernacle of meeting. This actually was the Ohel Moed again. But now the tabernacle does exist, doesn't it? The Mishkan does exist, but it seems like they're calling it the same thing that they called it even before it existed. What do I have here? Oh. Got to talk about the growth of Israel. When we came into Egypt, we, Jacob's seed, came into Egypt. We came in as a group of 70 people. say souls. Diana was numbered among the 70. We don't see it in Torah, but Yocheved was in utero. She was born in Egypt, but she was counted among the 70. How long were we in Egypt? How long did it take us to go from 70 men to 600,000 men when we left Egypt? Most people will tell you 430 years. You know what? You'd be wrong. You don't understand the scriptures. You understand a verse, but you don't understand the scriptures. I would argue, in a sense, even I, am still in Egypt. Even though I'm Yehovah's Ezra man. I keep the Passover every year. But I'm still in Egypt. And we're about to be set freer. I wouldn't say free, but freer with what's going on in the world right now. Let me just read something to you from Yasher. Levi was the last brother to die in Egypt. Do you know that the sons of Levi, Levi's seed, did not work for the Egyptians? All the other tribes worked for the Egyptians, but Levi did not work for the Egyptians. I wonder if that's part of the reason why Yehovah took Levi to be his. Well, look what it says here about Levi in Yasher 63. I'm reading on the right. And in the 93rd year, that's 93 years we've been in Egypt. Levi, the son of Jacob, in Egypt. And in the 93rd year died Levi, the son of Jacob, in Egypt. And Levi was 137 years old when he died. 93rd year to 137. He was like 43 years old when he came into Egypt. He had sons. He had 2 wives. He had, that was Simeon. He had 1 wife. Simeon had 2 wives. One of them was a sister, and the other was her handmaid. It says, and it came to pass, after the death of Levi, when all Egypt saw that the sons of Jacob, the brethren of Joseph, were dead, all the Egyptians began to afflict Jacob's seed and to embitter their lives from that day unto the day of their going forth from Egypt. And they took from their hands all the vineyards and fields which Joseph had given to them, and all the elegant houses in which the people of Israel lived, and all the fat of Egypt the Egyptians took from Jacob's sons, Jacob's seed. I suppose it could still be Israel's seed. They were talking about descendants at this point of these men. So it's the seed. And the hand of Egypt became more grievous in those days against Israel's seed. And all the Egyptians injured the Israelites until Israel's seed were wearied of their lives on account of the Egyptians. And it came to pass in those days, in the 102nd year of Israel going down to Egypt, The Pharaoh, king of Egypt, died. That was a sad day for them because Melal, his son, reigned in his stead. And all the mighty men of Egypt and all the generations which knew Joseph and his brethren died in those days. And another generation rose up in their stead, which had not known Jacob's sons, the original sons. Remember, the last one just died, Levi, and all the good that they had done to them and all their might in Egypt. This was a turning point from basically 100 years. Let's say 100 years. He died, what did we say, the 97th year, 93rd year of us being in Egypt. We're going to be in Egypt for 210 years. We had half the time being really good and half the time being very, very bad. You know, people will want to talk about this 210 years. I was amazed when I saw the 210 years because I tried to figure out the 430 years. 4 years. For many years before I actually found it out. And it was because I had already searched out the scriptures that when I found the 210 years, I found my answer to my question, how long were we in Egypt? And what does the 430 years represent? Well, there's actually 2 times. We're going to also talk about 400 years. Talking about Abraham's seed being oppressed for 400 years in Egypt. Who's Abraham's seed? Isaac. Isaac was oppressed in Egypt. We'll say, well, Isaac was never in Egypt. We're not talking about Egypt proper. We're talking about not Yehovah's kingdom. We didn't enter into Yehovah's kingdom until we left Egypt after Passover. Now, in my teachings, where would we find that? Probably, I want to say Genesis 48, maybe? No, it's not 48. Israel blesses Jacob. 46. Let's try 46. Yes, here it is. This is the 70. The 70 that are coming into Egypt. Yehovah, keep in mind, we're talking about 210 years. Yehovah was in uterus, born in Egypt, conceived in Canaan, right after we arrived in Egypt. Yehovah, the daughter of, here it is right here, where's Levi? Levi. Yeah. Oh, it doesn't even say it in here. Levi were Gershom and Merari, and Gershom, Kohath, and Merari. Here in Yasher, it says Gershom, Kohath, Merari, 3 sons, and their sister Yehovah. Now, Yehovah is mentioned in Torah. In Numbers 26, it says the name of Abram's woman, Amram's woman. Remember, Amram is the son of Kohath, who is the son of Levi. The name of Amram's wife, the mother of Moses, was Yehovah, the daughter of Levi. Oh, when I found that in Torah, I was like, oh yes, that's exactly what Yasher says. And sure enough, there it was. Who was born to Levi in Egypt. And to Amram she bore Aaron, Moses, and their sister Miriam. There it is. Their sister Miriam. No. I'm sorry about that. Their sister Miriam. Let's drop that. I'm thinking about Yocheved. Yocheved is the mother. Moses' mother is Yocheved. So if Moses, no, let's say it this way. If we were in Egypt for 430 years, that means that Yocheved, when she bore Moses, who brought Israel's seed out when he was 80, she would have to be 350 years old when she had Moses. Well, Moses was a miracle birth. Moses was prophesied of his birth by Miriam when she was very young, hardly able to talk. She said, my father and my mother are going to have a son, and he will deliver Israel from their oppression. Those are my words, not hers. It's definitely paraphrased. But because Yocheved was so old, almost 130 years old, and Miriam was so young, barely able to talk, it was a big deal. Moses had a lineage, a history that Israel knew about. Remember, Moses is going to leave Egypt when he tries to set Egypt free by killing an Egyptian. It was a kind of a start of a coup, I suppose, but it was a failed coup at best. But he left when he was 17 years old, didn't come back till he was way, way older. Well, this 210 years, I've got a note. Let me just show you my note. It's a topic note. I can do it too. Here, 210 years, 210. There it is. Here it is. Moses got this prophecy when he was 70 years old. Torah begins when Moses is 75. This is the first time we have Moses introduced to us in Genesis 12. He's going to have his son 25 years later when he's 100. And Isaac is going to have Jacob and the boys when they're 60. When they come into Egypt, in the 130th year, Pharaoh is asking Jacob, how old are you? And Jacob says, the years of my days are 130 years, 130 years. Add that to the 210 years, and we come up with, lo and behold, the 430 years. It all fits together. We just got to put it together, line upon line, precept upon precept. For years, even after I found 210 years in Yasher about us being in Egypt for that length of time, I was still 5 years short, and it wasn't until I was my third or fourth time through Yasher that I found this verse that talked about us or him. Here, I'll just read it. Abraham receives the prophecy, Yasher 13. It was in the 15th year of Abram's dwelling in the land of Canaan, which is the 70th year of the life of Abraham. And Yehovah appeared to Abraham in that year and said to him, I am Yehovah who brought thee out of the land, brought thee out from Ur-Kasdim, to give thee this land as an inheritance. Now therefore walk before me and be perfect and keep my commands. For to thee and to thy seed I will give this land as an inheritance, from Mitzrayim, the river Mitzrayim, to the great Euphrates. I guess this is, it's almost done, Euphrates. And thou shalt come to thy fathers in peace and in good age. And the fourth generation shall return to this land. I was always interested. What are the fourth generations? We got to talk about those kinds of things. And we did talk about those kinds of things when we were doing this particular chapter in Genesis in my teachings. You'll find it on YouTube. Anyway, fourth generation shall return here to this land and shall inherit it forever. And Abraham built an altar, and he called upon the name of Yehovah, who appeared to him, and brought up sacrifices unto that day. I got a hunch, because this was the very day, that this was a Passover day. I got a hunch. I think it was. It says he brought us out on that very day. Here it says. Here it is. I've got it right here. And it came to pass on that very same day that Yehovah brought Israel's seed out of they called it the sons of Israel here. Why do they call it the sons of Israel? They usually say children of Israel. Sons of Israel, Israel's seed out of the land of Egypt according to their armies. On that very day, which Passover, it's Passover. They make a point of saying on that very day. So it makes you think Passover was kept long before we understand what we understand as Passover. They used to call it the time of life. That's what it's called in Genesis 15, time of life. Okay. I'm sorry. I know I've gotten way off of what we were going to talk about today, but I think it's important that we understand Torah is not sequential. It's going to jump around back and forth. Has it been fudged with a bit? I wonder. I think it may have been. How come the first thing we're doing is not dedicating the altar and then having a Passover? Instead, we're numbering Israel in the second month. It makes no sense. Let's turn to our word for today. Like I said, it's brief. It's repetitive. And I'm probably not going to read it all. We'll go over it. This is it. We got down to here. Everyone of Israel's seed shall camp by his standard, beside the emblem of his father's house. They shall camp some distance from the tabernacle of meeting. Here's what we're talking about, just so you know. This is what he's describing today. On the east, as you can see, we're going to have Judah, Issachar, Zebulun. Those are the last three sons of Jacob's seed. Here's Jacob's seed, just so we can see it. There's Jacob's seed. Here they are. Whoops, that's not it. Jacob's, must be Jacob's sons. Jacob's. Oh, I got Israel's seed. Let's do it. Jacob's seed. Here we go. Here they are. Judah, Issachar, Zebulun. Let's put up the thing back up here. Judah, Issachar, Zebulun. They're on the east. We're going to have Reuben, Simeon, and Gad. There's Gad. Firstborn, secondborn of Leah, and then the firstborn of Zilpah, Leah's maidservant, with the boys on the south side. Gad, Simeon, Judah. On the back, the west side, remember it's going to face east. On the back, we're going to have all Rachel's kids, Benjamin and Joseph. Remember, Joseph is no longer a tribe. Benjamin and Manasseh, it says that Jacob adopted Benjamin and Manasseh as his sons, just as Reuben and Simeon were his sons. So they got adopted in place of Joseph. So we had all those boys, Benjamin, Manasseh, and Ephraim on the west side. And then the sons of Bilhah, remember Bilhah was Rachel's handmaid, Dan and Naphtali, along with Asher. They split Zilpah's sons. Gad was with two on the south side, and Dan was with the two on the north side. And that's what they're describing. But think about this. These are huge tribes. We're talking 603,500 men. These are heads of households. We're not talking about the sons. We're not talking about their wives. We're not talking about their daughters. We're not talking about the ger who dwells with them. And we're not talking about their servants, male and female. This is a huge camp that's taking place on the wilderness of Sinai, the desert of Sinai. They call it different things. But it's a plain. And it's got the tabernacle in the middle. But notice the red. Those are the Kohathites. No, those are the sons of Levi. Those are the Levites. Aaron and Moses are Levites. They're going to dwell on the inside nearest the tabernacle. But even them, Moses and Aaron, Moses has two sons, Gershom and I forget what the other one's name is. Remember one of Gershom because he was a ger in Egypt. Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah. Talking about the 430 years we were dwelling in Egypt, even though we weren't in Egypt proper. We were ger in Egypt. I'm a ger in Egypt, in a sense. They're going to dwell around the tabernacle, in a sense, to protect the tabernacle from uncleanliness. You can't have anybody wandering into the tabernacle who's unclean. And by having that buffer, they're a little bit more protected. So we're going to go through this really fast. There's not that much. On the east side, towards the rising of the sun, those of the standard of the forces of Judah shall camp according to their armies. And Nahshon, the son of Minadab, here it is. I think I even have it spelled out. Aminadab, Nahshon, the son of Aminadab, shall be the leader of Judah's seed. They put children of Israel. It's not the children of Israel. These are men, each one by his standard. The men have women. The men have daughters. The men have female servants, male servants. We went through all that. And his army was numbered 74,600. Incidentally, this is the same number of people that we were reading about on the last chapter. So I double checked all the numbers. They're all exactly the same. Those who camp next to him, Judah, shall be of the tribe of Issachar. And Nathaniel, the son of Zuar, shall be the leader of Issachar's seed. And his army was numbered at 54,400. You can imagine how large these tribes have to be. You know, I used to be a Boy Scout leader. And each tribe we set up, and we had, you know, councils, and they were all broken down. We had specific places that we were to camp. And that was a big camp, even in the Boy Scouts. But when you start about thousands of men, 74,600 men of Judah, 54,400 men of Issachar, and Zebulun, 57,400. We're talking about a large camp. 186,400. These shall break camp first. So not only are we learning how to camp, but we're learning how to break camp. And we're going to do exactly the same thing with the Levites next week. Breaking camp, and then the week after that, we're going to talk about the Levites' duties and responsibilities. Who carries what? Who sets up what? All these things are done in order. Very interesting. So here's the camp that's on the east side. 180,400 men with their families. South side, again, Reuben, Simeon, Gad. Do we have a total number here? Gad, Reuben. How can we? Reuben. Oh, here. All the forces, all who were numbered according to the armies of the forces of Reuben, were 100 and. So we had up here 180,600. For Reuben's, he's kind of the head of this south side, 150,400. Then we had the Levites. So they put the Levites in the middle. And the tabernacle of meeting shall move out with the camp of the Levites. So when we leave, it says, these shall break camp first. This was the tribes that go with Judah. Then we had the tribes that go with Reuben. They shall break camp second. They shall be second to break the camp. Now we're talking about Levites, and the tabernacle of meeting shall move out, where they say tabernacle, the tent of meeting is at the center. Shall move out with the camp of the Levites in the middle of the camps. So it's highly protected territory, the Levites and the Mishkan that they're carrying and the contents of it as they camp. So they shall move out, everyone in his place by his standard. On the west side is where Rachel's sons. Ephraim apparently is the leader of that. So we had Ephraim, Manasseh, and isn't that interesting that they put Ephraim as the leader, and Manasseh? Remember, Manasseh was the firstborn, but Jacob crossed his hands, so it looks like Ephraim got the duty. Interesting. So it's us. Ephraim's 108,100. They shall move out third. They shall be the third to break camp, which is right after the tabernacle. And finally, Dan. Why was Dan the head? I wonder why Dan is the head of this particular one. Judah, I could understand because he was kind of the kingly portion of it. Reuben was the firstborn son. Ephraim got the blessing. But why Dan? Why Dan? I don't know why Dan would be the one here that's doing this. The standard of the forces of Dan shall be on the north side, according to the armies and the leaders of Dan's seed, and the Elkezar, the son of Ammishaddai, and his army shall be numbered 600. So we go down to all who were numbered. Here it is here, 31. All who were numbered of the forces of Dan, 157,600. They shall break camp last with their standards. They're bringing up the rear. These are the ones who are numbered of Israel's seed by their fathers' houses, not their mothers' houses. All who were numbered according to their armies of the forces were 603,500. Oh, and 50. You know, it's interesting that they never have a number that ends in 7 or 3. It's always ends in 0. Is that a coincidence, or why is that like that? I wonder. When we talk about money, then we're going to see it's going to go down to the 3. Don't forget about the 3. But the Levites were not numbered among Israel's seed, just as Yehovah commanded Moses. Thus Israel's seed did according to all that Yehovah commanded Moses. So they camped by their standards, and so they broke camp, each one by his family according to their father's houses. Again, the Ger are not being numbered. This is not talking about the Ger. They're dwelling with one of Israel's seed. You know, I was thinking about the Ger this morning. If they dwell with Israel's seed, you never see Gerim dwelling with one of Israel's seed. It's always a Ger who dwells with you. I wonder if the Ger had to be like sponsored. They had to have a host. Who will host this man, this new Ger that's joined us, who came from Egypt? Who will host him? I'll take him. I think that's maybe what happened. And then it's kind of one-on-one teaching, so that we teach our Ger the ways of Yehovah. Of course, we've got to learn them first, don't we? But again, the Ger are going to be dwelling with each one of these men by their standards, the men's standards, the Ezra men's standards. Ger doesn't have a standard, but he's joined himself to a particular tribe, and that tribe has places that they're supposed to be. Anyway, I think it's all interesting how it all fits together. I know this was really a strange lesson. I'm sorry about that. I just felt that we needed to cover and understand more the lack of sequential events as they're playing out here in Numbers. I'm so grateful for Yasher kind of giving us the actual sequence of events so we can see how it all fits together. And then we do see it. Look, when we go to chapter 9, just as a sidebar, when we go to chapter 9, we're going to see, now Yehovah spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the first month of the second year after they came out of Egypt. So here we are, first month, second year. We started with the first month. No, we started with the second month, second year after we came out of Egypt. So now here's the first month. Now we're keeping the Passover. And then later on in here, somebody says, we were able to do it. We were unclean, but certain men were defiled by human courses. We couldn't do it. And so they have what they're supposed to do in the second Passover. On the 14th day of the second month, at twilight. We're going to do exactly as we did for the first Passover. So interesting. So it was there. I just didn't see it, because when I think about chapter 9, I always think about second Passover, but it really was about first Passover. Second Passover was kind of an afterthought for the people who couldn't make it in the first Passover. All right. Well, I've rambled on long enough. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you again next week. We're going to talk about the Levites. Yehovah bless you real good. Bye-bye now.